So I know Tyler was going to get on tonight. He must be running a little bit late, but he asked me to do something for him. I said, you know what, I'm going to do that on the training tonight just for him. So I haven't looked at it yet, but we've had a lot of really good trainings over the last few weeks, and Jeff and I were talking about what we really need right now, and we've had a few requests for a few different things. So first, I'm going to get into a question Sydney had a little while, just a couple of days ago, on how to keep up with buyers or even sellers that possibly aren't quite ready to buy, and you just want to keep them. You want to keep them top of mind so they don't forget about you and you don't forget about them. And I just wanted to show you kind of a little bit of a real simple way that I do it through KV Core. So I'm going to share my screen. Have you unlocked it, Jeff?
I thought I did. Let me check.
Okay.
Yeah, should be good.
All right, perfect. So looking at the back office of KV Core right here, we went through this a little bit. I'm going to do like a real simple one that can just give you reminders, and also one that's a little bit more in depth, that's more hands off, and it shouldn't take but just a couple minutes. So I'm going to start off on Smart CRM over here, and then I'm going to add in a new lead. Let's see. Actually, I had one. Where is he? All set up. I'm in my open house. I want to keep him in front of me. So there he is. Let's see. So we're just going to add a new contact, and his name is Josiah. And I'm just going to drop in his cell phone number here. So this one is just super, super easy to add a new contact manually. And one thing you want to make sure is you want to enable permissions for email, call, and text. That allows the system to do any automatic messages to your buyer. I'm going to put him lead status as just a new lead. And I'm not going to start a campaign on him right now because I just want to leave it as no campaign, just to show you how you can do manual reminders. If I want to add a lender, I can. Let's see. Let's just put Corey in, for example. And if your lender isn't in here, by the way, that you use, you can actually have it submitted. It takes about a day, and KV Core will upload your lender so you can actually CC your lender on anything that you put in as a new lead. So he'll get that message if I send it. So I'm just going to leave that no. So I add the contact. And the first thing I'm going to do is, you'll notice that I don't have any, this is Josiah. I think it's catching I must have already put him in. So that's okay. He's already in the system. But over here where it says more actions, this I can leave all my notes. Sometimes I'll just add a note. And if it's a little bit about Josiah and how I met him, I'll just type in here, met at open house, and he's 3 months from buying. He said October. So I'll just put in there. I could CC my lender. I'm not going to do that. But if I pin it to the top, then I just always have that note right at the top, so I can just easily remind myself of whatever notes that I want. But this one is for you, Sydney. So on more actions, I will hit actually tasks right here. If I click on tasks, I can just add a new task and just say call Josiah, check notes, follow up. And I want to put him, let's say, I want to touch bases with him sometime around probably the end of August. And any time during the day is fine. So I'll just put in 9 a.m. and assign it to myself because I want that task to trigger for me. So I just hit add task. And then on that date, I'm going to get a reminder from KV Core right up here, one of these reminders, notifications, and it'll show me a note that I need to give Josiah a call. So that's one way to do it. That's really, really easy, and that's hands-on. If you want to do something hands-off, you can actually just create a campaign in, see, Marketing Autopilot. Under Smart Campaigns. And there's lots of videos on how to do this exact thing, but you can create campaigns and have templates. So I have a campaign in here. It's called Buyer Drip, and I created this. So if you create one, you can just create whatever campaign you want, and it triggers when you get a new lead, and you put in your lead source, agent website, or open house, whatever, and that's your hashtag. But I'm going to put in, yeah, open house is what it was. He's a buyer, and then I can create a campaign for it. So I'm really just creating a campaign that I'm going to use for all future buyers, because this isn't specific to him, but I can call it whatever I want, like Buyer Drip campaign. And I can just call those notes the same, hit next. So I'm creating this campaign. So I already have this campaign, but that's how easy it is to create. So I'm not going to recreate it, but I just wanted to show you how I create it. So here's a Buyer Drip example. When I click on this, I can actually add templates and drop them in that are going to be automatic texts. So if I want to do add action and I just wanted to send an automatic text message, I can drop in like a template that I already have, Buyer Drip 3. And what that'll do is it'll send out this message. Hey, was thinking about you. Have you decided when you're going to start looking for a new home yet? I'm here to help when you're ready. And that is just an automatic text that's going to come out from the system. And I can just set how many days out I want. So let's say I want to add this one 100 days out and add it. It's going to drop right in here. So these are my text campaigns for Buyer Drip. So day 30, if I look at what that text will be, hey, it's been a while since we connected. I hope you're doing well. Let me know if you're ready to start finding a new home or have any questions. So I wrote that, so you can actually write those actions and templates in your campaigns and set those up automatically. So when I have a Buyer Drip hashtag on there. So when I come back over to Josiah, all I have to do is add that hashtag. So since it's already created, I don't have to do that every time. I just come in here, add hashtag, and type in Buyer Drip, update tag. So this is going to trigger anytime I have that campaign on Buyer Drip, it'll drop right in there and he'll get that campaign every 30 to 60 days. So that's two different ways you can do it, Sydney, is you can do it manually or you can do it automatic. So sometimes, if it's somebody that you want to stay close in contact with that has some specific details, set up the reminder so you can do it manually. But if it's somebody that maybe it's just an open house and you've got a bunch of leads that have come in and you just want to kind of drip on them and be a little more generic, you can use the automatic system. So does that help, Sydney?
Yeah, have you found it to be confusing at all for people if they get the automatic text from your smart number and then they also have your cell phone number?
Yeah, and you can actually put your cell phone number in each of the texts if you want. But yeah, I mean, it's an automated system, so you have that second phone number. But you can't send out automatic texts through your personal phone number that's automated. Like there's no system I've seen
Right,
that can do that.
Sydney, one
right.
thing you can do when you get a new lead is maybe even the first time you text them from your smart number, say you may have my other cell number, whatever that, and then put what that is. Please add this one to my contact info as well, so you recognize it's for me. I use this one a lot for business.
Okay,
That I sent out. It's just like, hey, this is another number for me. I use it a lot for business. Add it to my contact in your phone.
okay. No, that's great. I do have one other question though. So one thing I'm running into is I have a few people that are in the process of getting pre-qualified, and I'm touching or I'm reaching out every once in a while with them, but how do you guys feel about setting up hot sheets? I've heard a few different things, but some people don't like setting up hot sheets before they're pre-qualified because they don't want them to like fall in love with something they're not approved for. And then the other version that I've heard of that is people like to set them up early because they want them to kind of see how fast things are going in this market and kind of see affordability wise, like different areas. What's your guys' take on setting up hot sheets with those people that are kind of in the pipeline, like getting ready to buy?
Well, for me, Sydney, I think it just every buyer is going to be a little bit different and kind of what their time frame is. But I've always been of the mindset that I like to give value and make that connection and get them in the habit of seeing me with the houses that they're searching for. So I like to set up hot sheets, even if they're not quite ready to go yet. But if there's a range, let's say they're going to qualify somewhere between, 350 to 400, I'll probably start off in most cases closer to the 350 range, just so they can get a feel of what's out there instead of pushing that price up. Because just because someone's qualified for a certain amount doesn't mean that that's the price that they want to purchase at. So it's kind of based on their monthly payment and where they're comfortable. So I will, I like to send out auto sheets and start getting them started so they can see them. And I also tell them that I know we're not ready to start looking yet, and we're waiting for a few things to get your pre-qualification done. But this is a great way for you to start to learn the market, see what you like. Feel free to ask me any questions on any houses. And then when you're ready, we'll start looking.
Okay.
That's
Awesome.
what I do.
And I think you can kind of fill out each client based on their needs. I'm not exactly the opposite of Eric, but I like to kind of hold it back a little bit because it pushes them to get pre-qualified faster, in my opinion. It's like, hey, let's get this done. That's step one. I'm always saying that's step one. That predicates everything else. Their price range, the payment, they're making certain assumptions based on what they've seen online. And so I want validation from the lender because their debt to income ratio could be different than what the exact model was in the calculator they were using online, and they think they can afford something that they can't. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but I'm pretty straightforward saying that's step one. And that's why you mentioned that at the first, because you've probably heard me tell you that half a dozen. But
Certainly ideal.
For me, that works. Now, if they're just like totally bummed about that, I don't usually run into that at all, but I would set them up on a hot sheet. At least they're going to understand my opinion on why I'm not doing it. And you got to realize that you're sending them hot sheets, but with the internet today, they're looking anyway. And even when you send them hot sheets, they're not just solely relying on that, especially if you got them set up to get that once a day. They're still on their phones looking at other sites and Utah real estate as well. But I haven't found that that's been a deterrent for me. I like them to get pre-qualified and rope them in that way.
Yeah, certainly if you can, that's what you want to do first. So maybe it depends on a little bit if they can get qualified and they're just you know, working slow towards getting qualified for some reason, to encourage them to do that. If they're a few months out or something, I don't mind doing it, but it's yeah, every client's a little bit different too.
Okay. Yeah, no, that kind of helps. I just am running into, I have a few different buyers that are working on getting pre-qualified, and I know that they want to see what's out there, but I also know that they have no idea what they're going to qualify for, them and their spouses. And so I'm like reliant on the lender. And so at that point, like, should I call the lender and kind of get a better idea from them, or do I keep in touch with the buyers and kind of, that's how, like, kind of my biggest question is I kind of feel weird in this in between of like, how much do I bug them and do I like bug their lender instead of them type of a thing?
I don't think you're really bugging the lender if you just follow up with them and ask them if they're waiting on anything. Is there anything you can do to help and assist in getting documentation or whatever? Because people are busy, right? And for us, it's like, this is our job, and we're like, hey, get pre-qualified, you fill out the application, go round up your documents. But you know, they got jobs, they got lives, and they might get to it 2 days from now. So you don't want to be too pushy, but just follow up and ask if there's anything you can do to assist, I think is warranted on both ends. At least, you know, my preferred lenders do a pretty good job of following up on that end. And so I usually get, you know, as you know, we get updates from them on where they're at in the process. Pretty good.
Yeah, most lenders are pretty anxious to, and, you know, work hard to get that information. So, you know, when I first put a buyer under contract on a purchase, one of the first questions it says, how soon can we close if we want to close sooner or earlier if they're in a hurry? I say, well, there's two things that really determine that time frame, and that's how long it takes to get the appraisal back, because we just never know if it's going to be a 5-day or a 20-day appraisal. It just kind of depends on what appraiser that lender pulls out of the hat. But then the second thing I always tell the buyers is it determines on how quickly you get everything to the lender when they request it. So if they ask for something and it takes you 5 days to get everything back, that's 5 extra days that it hasn't gone to underwriting. So get everything back to the lender as quick as you can. So yeah, same kind of a similar thought. Just, you know, the lender needs to get that information as quick as possible. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your guys' input.
Yeah. So, Jeff, I've got, Tyler actually is working on a listing right now, and he shot over to me a couple hours ago and wanted to do a CMA. And I was like, we haven't done a CMA review in quite some time. And I thought it'd be beneficial for some of the new agents or just a refresher as well. So I'm going to log in and look at this property I printed off earlier and just run through a quick CMA.
And this is for a listing appointment, you said?
Yeah, he's trying to get the value of it and kind of where he should list it at and what the true value is. So I just kind of wanted to run through a scenario of kind of what I do first, and please jump in and let me know if I'm missing anything or something that you do different.
Okay.
And if anybody has any questions, just, stop us for sure. But so this house is in Spanish Fork, and it did have a previous listing on it, but I'm not going to use that quite yet. So you can see I can search for a property if I don't know if there's an MLS on there. So the first thing I do is I always go to tax data and find that house. And the easiest way I've found to do it is if you know the owner's name, you can type it in. But another thing you can do is you can actually just type in the beginning of the house number and just pick the county that it's in. This is Spanish Fork, so it's Utah County. And it is 2342 1450 South. So Judy Smith right there. So when I click on that tax ID number, the first thing that I notice right here is it has been on the MLS before. So if this blue box is not here, it's never been listed on the MLS. So it's always nice when you see this, because you can, confirm a few things. First of all, you pull up that previous MLS and kind of look at the square footage and compare it to tax data. So I've got, that's really the first thing I look at is the square footage. And I want to confirm that square footage is matching what is on county records. And there's a couple different ways that you can do that. So you've got your square footage listed here, and you've also got county links right up here. So Utah and Salt Lake County are a little different. So on Salt Lake County, I usually look at parcel map to get the square footage. But with Utah County being a little bit different, I usually hit the either appraised value or tax detail. So, okay. So I've got, here's my property. I've got square footage here, basement and main square footage. So I've got 1328 and 1338. Let's see, where's my MLS here? How is it the Zoom screens are always in the way no matter what you do? I'm always moving it around because I can't see where I'm going.
I do too. Hey, another thing I do, and I'm sure you do the same thing, Eric, is as I'm going through these and I'm finding these data points, I'm creating a folder for my potential seller. So in my Dropbox folder tree, I have client documents, buyer, seller, I have everything broke down. So I'll just make a folder for them and start printing PDFs and sticking them in there. So it's really easy to pull up later if you have a question about.
Yeah, that's perfect. And you put it in your Dropbox usually, right?
I use Dropbox. Yeah, I don't even use the computer document folder tree because it installs a new folder tree on there when you sync it with Dropbox. So it's always online. I can go to any computer, my phone, they're all synced. Every device I have that I've downloaded on, like Sydney, my other daughter, Ashley, Lynn, we all share the same Dropbox file. So whenever we're storing documents, we're looking on our phones or on our computer, we're all seeing the same stuff in real time, right? And if I don't have one of my devices, I can log into Dropbox.com and see the same things. So I started years ago just using that. So I just make a seller folder, put the name on there, and then the address, and just start saving these previous MLS data sheet, county assessor's data, and then you have it easy to draw on if you're writing up a listing and don't have to pull it back up.
Yep, that's great. One other thing too that if I was working on this listing for myself, I would ask them if they have refinanced it recently or they have the original appraisal, because sometimes those square footage might be a little bit different. On the listing agreement, you can mark tax data or appraised measurement, and I'll use the appraised measurement if it's larger. And I like to confirm the old MLS too, just to make sure it's the same, and see if there's different square footages and see if I need to dig into that a little deeper. So those are exactly the same. That was a previous listing. It was actually a short sale back in 2011. What was the other one? No square footage there. That was a good deal for that house.
Look at that price though.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like that. So square footage looks good on this. So what I'm going to do now is start working on kind of a search of homes in that area. So I usually like to go in and actually take this address and map out kind of the area. Let's see. Yep, that's it. And I'll just leave this up as kind of a reference because I just want to get a feel for it. I'm not from, I don't spend a lot of time working in Spanish Fork, so I'm not as familiar with it as if it's like in my own backyard. So here we are. Let's see, where did that go? There it is. I don't know why the pin moved, but there it is. So that kind of gives me a little bit of a feel of where it is. You can do a coordinate search too when you're doing a CMA, like kind of in the neighborhood, and use these coordinate box, or you can use the map feature as well. So let me go back.
I like the map feature better, Eric, because as you saw in there, the main corridor streets going through there, sometimes they're really defining the age of neighborhoods or the style of homes, the year built, and that kind of stuff. And so I like to actually, I mean, you can do the grid as first, but my preference is just the map, and I can stay within those specific neighborhoods and not cross those corridor streets. A little bit more specific.
Yeah, super easy too. And especially when you have like that corridor right there, because the properties are so different on either side. So first thing I like to do is just hit clear criteria, make sure I don't have any old information in there. And I'm going to just do sold properties. And I'm going to do, this is a Rambler. So I'm going to select Rambler. And sometimes you have to go back in and add or subtract, you know, different criteria to make sure you have a good number of properties to pull from. But I'm just going to start out as ideal of what I like to do and see how many I get. So I usually go back about 150 days, 120 to 150 days when I'm looking at kind of an appraised value, because an appraiser will look back 6 months. So if I were to put this on the market today and then it was under contract in 30 days, I can't use, you know, listings that are 6 months old today. They need to be like 4 or 5 months old today for those comps to work. So I'm just going to try like 100 days back on solds. I need to drop in the county and also the city and see how many I have. Spanish Fork. So I have 69 properties so far. I haven't put any square footage or anything. This is just Spanish Fork Ramblers. Let's see.
Hey, Eric.
Let's do the map real quick first. Yeah, Tyler?
Have you ever tried just doing the populate form and put the MLS in, and then it just pre-populates all those with the range?
I do, but on this one, I just kind of doing it as if I didn't have that populated data for the MLS. But you can certainly do that that way too. Yep. I've been doing it this way for a long time too. So it's just kind of, I like to kind of put in my own criteria, but you can do it that way as well.
And that's what I was wondering, is if their criteria is a little too lenient, or what your thoughts were with that. So
yeah, I haven't used it a ton, just because I like to kind of know what I'm putting in. Hey, you ever used that before, Jeff?
No, I do it the same way you're doing it. I like to do it manually because then I can play with it and follow the way I want.
Yeah.
Before we move on too far, a couple things in the chat. DL asked back when you were talking about verifying the square footage, he wanted to know how you resolve any disparity. One of the things he mentioned, DL, is if he can get his hands on an appraisal, that's an actual manual measurement that's the best to rely upon. For me, if I've got county records and MLS data that's showing a different square footage, I usually will just use the larger of the two because I don't want the home to appear smaller than it is, and I'll let the buyer do their own homework. So I don't know if you have anything to add on that, Eric, or if that answers your question, DL. Okay, cool. And then Shantae wanted to know if ever tried using RPR for your CMAs. I don't, Shantae. That's NAR's program, right? I've looked at it a couple of times, but I've never really got into it.
Yeah, I haven't used it either.
Yeah, I actually like it a lot better than our MLSs now.
I did watch a demonstration on it, and it does have some more dynamic features for sure.
Great. Maybe we can do a training on that, Shantae. Yeah, I haven't used that either. Okay, Jeff, let's get into this map. Let's see. I'm going to put the address in. So when you use the map search, you can use the coordinate box like this, but in this situation, you've kind of got a little bit different shaped neighborhood. So with this corridor going right here, I'd probably use the diagonal one and just kind of coat this neighborhood and just see what I get out of it this way. Is that kind of what you would do, Jeff, as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I probably on that specific example would have probably stayed on East Canyon Road. I mean, it only would drop out 4 of those. 'Cause that's kind of a separator in that neighborhood too.
Yeah, for
But
sure. Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 of them. We can do
Yeah.
that. Let's see. Oops. Let's just see what we got there. So we've got, oops, I meant to hide the map. So you can just hide the map once you draw it, and it'll pull you back to those results or back to your search engine. So I've got 27 properties in there. I haven't put any square footage in there, and that's the next thing I do, Jeff, is kind of look at the square footage. This house is 2666. So with a Rambler, I'm looking at my total square footage. So I'll probably start out somewhere around 2,200 and go up to 3,000 just to see what's kind of in that area. So I got 16 properties. One thing too is maybe not in this neighborhood, but with a home that's built in 2003, I will take out some of the new construction homes, if there are some, by just putting in like last year's date. So I just kind of eliminate any new construction, anything that's being built right now, just to give it a little bit more accurate pull on it. This one's got a 2-car garage. Sometimes I just play around with it and see. So there's 2 houses. You can see it switched to 13 from 15. I'll just play around with it and see if it makes a huge difference. But when I still have 13 homes, I'm going to put in a 2-car garage because my square footage is getting pretty close.
Did this one have a fully finished basement?
What's that?
Yeah, it's finished.
That's a good one to put in too. So when I have a fully finished basement, I want to compare it to others. I'll put, I don't know what you do, Jeff, but I put in 50% at a minimum. So if there's a 75% or 90% in there, I'm getting all of those as well instead of putting in that 100% basement. Because a lot of agents put in 95% when there's like cold storage or storage area. So 10 houses, that's pretty good. Anything else you would add to this, Jeff, just for?
Not at this point. At this point, I'd just pull up the results and scroll through them. And sometimes that brings up something else like potentially lot size. You notice one in there that's on 2 acres and yours is on 0.19 or whatever. So that might be another one to narrow it down, especially down in Spanish Fort. But that subdivision doesn't have a lot of large lots.
Yeah.
But sometimes you'll notice that'll be something that'll stand out, you know, when you're scrolling through your search results and you miss something, when you see like a huge variation in price, it's usually because maybe one was on a double lot or something like that.
This one just happens to be on the other side of the canyon, that one, the lowest price one. So I just like to kind of scroll through because what you're seeing is kind of, well, obviously you're going from the lowest price of 315 sold all the way to the bottom. You're going to have the highest priced property, which sold for 394. So probably depending on condition, you're probably going to be somewhere in that price range when you have the highest and the lowest. Tyler, have you been in this house? Have you seen the condition?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, for the year, it's good.
2003. Has it been updated at all, or is it kind of 2003 inside?
It's about the same from the pictures. So if you compare the pictures, but I mean, there's granite countertops and nice carpet, stuff like that. So
Okay. Hey, Jeff, you might want to maybe just throw your input in here, because I like how you approach, values on like a listing appointment, but kind of how you go into it not having a CMA, just, because you haven't seen the house yet, so you really don't know the condition, you don't know the product you're selling.
And you'll probably be able to give them some comparison by scrolling through some of the pictures on these list price. But what Eric means is I show up to a listing appointment and I haven't done any of this already. If I show up predetermined with my list of comps and my value range and I haven't seen the house, to me that doesn't make sense, but it does something else. It kind of separates me from the other appointments they've had, because all agents do the same thing. They're all taught to do their comps, come in here, look, this one's a 4-bedroom, yours is a 4-bedroom, this one has 2.5 baths, yours has 2.5 baths, and they have their old listing presentation where it should be more of a discovery process. And Tyler, you've already been out to this property, so I'm assuming you did that. You've already been through the property and now you're doing the CMA. I tell them, you know what, I don't even know what product we're putting on the market yet, because as Eric goes through some of these pictures, you can kind of see condition, presentation, how they actually merchandise the home and put it on the market has a big effect with the buyers as they're scrolling through the available properties and which ones they want to go and see. And some of them just pop. They got the high resolution pictures. It's clutter free. It's staged properly. They've done all the touch up. It just, even if it's an older home, it looks newer. It's got a different feel to it. Buyers make their selections emotionally. Like these pictures right here are already better than the previous listing that Eric was just scrolling through, even though it had nice finishes. So to me, presentation's everything. And so as I go to the listing appointment, I tell them I haven't done comps because I don't know what I'm selling yet. So I want their participation. I want to gauge their balance between profit and convenience, meaning if they're willing to do some work for me to get it in full retail ready, I'm going to get them more money. If they're lazy and they don't want to put any effort in, I'm just laying it out there right from the get-go that the person that is going to do those things is going to profit, not them. So we might have to sell for a little bit lower price.
I like that, Jeff. I've actually made that adjustment just in the last year that we've been collaborating, and it's worked out so much better for me, because I was just like you said, every other agent, you do all your homework beforehand and you show up and you're like, I already know this house is worth exactly this, even though you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So you kind of, and I know you mentioned before, like when you talk to a listing appointment, that all the other agents, or most of them, will come in with their comps and sit at the kitchen table and start going over price and value. And they don't even look at the rest of the house first.
Yep.
Very common.
So sellers need to understand that there's only two things they're in control of, and that's price and condition. And you got to play with one or the other, right? You're going to get the best price for the best condition. So if they're not willing to put in the effort to put the best product on the market, then they're going to get a lower price. And so when they feel like they're in control, instead of, well, I've had two agents here, they both came in the CMA, but maybe this one just wanted the listing and said, oh, I can get you this price. When you're giving them a little bit more data that comes into their decision-making process, it shows more value on your end as the agent, because anybody can run an algorithm on Utah Real Estate and hit the CMA button and have it print out a CMA without putting a lot of effort into condition and presentation and that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, because really a CMA is just an average of the low and the high. And that's it. So you're just kind of targeting the average in the middle. So it's really up to us to help establish that value based on condition.
Yep, for sure.
So I'm going to go back up to the top here, Jeff. Let me know if you see anything that jumps out to you. Obviously, this house, this was built in 78 and has a little bit less square footage. And this one was on the other side too. It's like not right next to it. I would probably just remove this one. I
Yeah,
don't think
me
it's
too.
a great comp for this house. Let's see, 2010. This one's a little bit newer than the 2003. A lot of these houses in this area are kind of in that same year built. But let's see, lot size is a little smaller. I'll probably leave that in there for now. I usually leave in more properties than I delete. And the reason is because I want to have more of a broad range and get kind of a tighter average of the neighborhood. And also too, you know, a lot of maybe not a lot, but I know I've seen a lot of agents think that you have to have just 3 houses to do an appraisal. The truth is you can have multiple houses. You can have a lot more than 3 on an appraisal. So if you look at appraisal, sometimes you have 5 or 6 properties. So instead of trying to narrow it down to the 3 best one, leave some of those other ones in there because it can help establish a better value or a more accurate value on paper anyway.
Well, and just like appraisers will tell you, they want to have one that's smaller, maybe one that's a little bit bigger, one that's the same, but definitely throw a few more in the mix. I like 5 or 6 for sure. And once Eric narrows this down, then like if he's going to eliminate any more of these, then we'll go to the map again. And the ones that are closer are always going to trump the one that's on that outskirt over there. So if they're kind of similar, but this one's, you know, further away, the closer one's gonna win in the eyes of an appraiser because it's more comparable, right?
Yep, for sure. This one's pretty close in size, year built, everything. This one sold back in March for $340,000. This one's a little bit newer. I'm fine with that. It's only about 5 years difference. This one's a little bit larger, a little bit older, so kind of a wash there a little bit. Kind of curious what this one looks like. This got a 3-car garage on it. So that'll automatically give it a $5,000 bump in value.
Don't you wish you could actually build a garage for 5,000?
Wouldn't that be nice? You can't. But that's all you get for it.
I know, and that looks like it was an add-on too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this is a good start here. So let's look at that map again. Where is our map? It's in the search engine. I'm not going to go back to the map.
You can just hit the under reports, do the map view if you want, if you're just looking for proximity. Pretty decent grouping.
Yeah, it really is. So our property here, our subject property is just south of East Canyon Road. So we've got this loaner out here. I'm gonna get rid of that one just because it's off to the side.
I would have got rid of that one too, especially being over East Canyon. The other one on the top right is close enough, even though it's on the corridor. I'd probably leave it for now, but I'd check out that one over by Scenic.
Yeah, that's that 3-car garage one. So probably these are going to be the most relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just run the CMA report and see kind of what these properties show. So we don't have a subject in here. So you do have to do it manually if you don't have the MLS number, but we do have the MLS number, and that is accurate on county records. So I'm going to pull that one in. And I know you can use the tax ID if you don't have the MLS. I like to manually input them versus that. But I've already looked at the MLS number, so I'm going to pull it in and just confirm some of these numbers. Square footage, basement finished, all that's correct. 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, that's all correct. 2003 garage. So I'm getting a average value of all of these homes of $363,184. And my low is 343. and my high is 390. So that's that newer one, the 2010. Would you take that one out, Jeff, or would you leave it based on what?
I would, just because it's so much higher than the rest. One practice to just kind of play around with these numbers is take out the lowest and the highest. When you've got this many, you've got 8. You take the lowest and the highest, it kind of groups them a little bit better. But that higher one, I think it's skewing it a little bit. So you can just hit the remove button and see.
So I'm going to take off one of the low ones, and then I'm going to take that high one off. Where did it go? There it is. It moved to the top. How convenient. So that changed just maybe a couple $1,000 is all. So that's, I think that's a pretty fair assessment for this property, is those six properties, or six properties on our subject. And we've got a fairly tight range on the pricing. Like now our high is 371, our low is 344, but most of them are kind of right around that 360 to 365 range. So I think this is kind of, it comes down to condition, Tyler, and where you're at. One thing that I do on this search too, I kind of forgot to do it at the beginning, but I like to just see what other properties are out there. So I'll just save that CMA. But before I do that, I will hit this new tab button twice and create basically the exact same page here. I know some of the MLSs are a little bit different, but they all kind of do the same thing. So on the second one, I'm just going to come down here, take out the sold, and I'm going to put in active and just see what else is out there that's similar to this property, so I can see what the competition is, because that's what your competition is as a realtor, plus the the seller. They need to kind of know what their competition is too. And on this tab, I'll take the sold out and I'll drop in backup and under contract, so I can see what's actually under contract right now. So let's take a look at those real quick.
So just as a side note on this, guys, I think these searches right now are even more important than the sold ones, because of the market we're in, at least right here in Utah. Shantae, I think yours is probably similar, but the appraiser has to look at what's already happened. And we most definitely, what is on the market right now and what's coming on the market is going to dictate the value of this property. The competition is more important what's already sold. It's what's available to a buyer. The inventory is so low. And so Eric doing this is showing you how to make that comparison. But when you're talking to your seller, you need to put a lot of weight on this, because like Eric said, that's their competition, and they're going to help them sell first, or the ones that are other ones on the market are going to help your seller sell. So.
Yep. I love that. Yeah, it's such a good thing to point out, is, are you going to help your neighbors sell their house, or vice versa, right?
For sure. Well, and it has to go with all of this together. So it's the pricing and the competition that just gets it on the buyer's radar, right? But then we want them to walk in our house and say, oh my gosh, this one's so much nicer. It's totally worth 15 grand more, because I don't have to do all of that work. So all of these things intermix when you're talking to your seller on that pricing and that condition, and where you're guiding them to marry that up. And you want them to get the most money, and they'll joke and they'll say, oh yeah, because you make more commission. And it's like, yeah, really, it's not going to make that big a difference on my commission, but you want to do the best job possible for them. You want them to understand, I'm working for you and I want you to get the best outcome possible. And these kind of conversations truly help.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so this is your lowest price competition right here. It's just a little bit smaller, few years older, about the same size lot. So 385, Tyler, and this one's a little bit smaller, but it does have a bigger lot. So that would probably be a pretty attractive property. And if you're going to be in that, let's say you're 365 to 385 range, all the buyers that are looking at 365 are probably looking at 385 too. So this is your competition, because most people are going to be looking search engine wise under 400 for a property like this, I would guess. in the most case, right? Most of the
Yeah.
time. So this has been on the market 6 days. I always look at days on market too, because if this said, you know, if all 4 of these said 2 or 3 months, then maybe they're all overpriced. But these are all pretty fresh listings. This one's a little bit bigger. It's actually got a bonus room on this Rambler. That's where that extra square footage is coming in. But is that busy street? Oh,
That's a 1959.
yeah.
Look at the price on the 390.
Yeah, I was thinking it was had like an acre lot or something when I first looked at it.
Click on the pictures, see if it's like totally remodeled like a brand new house.
There you go.
1959 can look like 2015.
Yep. Well done, Jeff. Yeah, it's nicely staged. Makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump over here real quick. We're almost done here. Let's look at these backup and under contracts, because these are the houses that are under contract right now. These actually, depending on the days on market. So I'll kind of look at the days on market, 8 days, and your under contract date right here, 6/10, to see. Sometimes you'll see, oh, they picked this house instead of one of these houses that's still active. Why? It's kind of interesting to kind of look back at that. But you look at this house and you've got 340, 2,900 square feet. It's a little older. Wow, that's beautiful. Looks really nice. So my first thought when I look at this property at 340, it's been under contract for a while, but it went under contract quick at that square footage based on everything else. I'm thinking maybe that the agent might have listed it too low for this neighborhood. Maybe.
And keep in mind, the under contracts and backups, we don't know what the offer is.
No. So, I mean, it could be higher than that, but that, to me, that looks like possibly an agent that missed the price on that. So, what's that?
So it looked like a homie listing.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like kind of a disservice to me.
It could swing either way. That could also have been priced at 420.
Yeah, right? Because you never know.
Super low or super high.
Yeah, for sure. Because they're like, I don't know, seller, what do you think? What do you want listed at?
Sounds good to me.
You're the one saving all the money here.
Yeah. So this one's a little bit older, a little bit smaller, been under contract. It's under contract, 355. Not sure what it sold for, of course, but it's good to check this out. So this one, check out that one, Tyler. 399 under contract. It could be under contract for 375. We don't know, but looks like a pretty nice house.
Nice yard detached.
Yeah. It's nice. They like the outside. I haven't seen anything inside yet.
Right.
I'm getting nervous. I saw the cold storage before I saw the kitchen. That makes me nervous too.
I know, it's interesting the way people sort their pictures.
Nice, man. A lot of photos. Yeah, that's it.
That's why the kitchen's
That's it.
Boy, look at those cabinets. I mean, so if I was on this listing appointment, pull that kitchen back up again. I would want those painted white, 100%.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it'll take me a while to get back there, Jeff.
You could have hit the previous button, but that's okay. Look how sharp those would look if that was white.
Yeah, it would make a huge
Those
difference.
walls, paint the walls, possibly even put a backsplash behind there, paint those white. That's a whole new kitchen.
Yep.
And not that much money. Cool, but it's
So-
under contract at $399.
Yeah. So Tyler, I think based on condition, I think from what I'm seeing, I'd say, I mean, probably your true value is probably closer to that 375 area based on kind of what's active right now, what's under contract. Most of it's going quickly. So I would probably tend to be higher depending on the condition than what your CMA came in at.
If you can get them to get the condition right, you should always be pushing the limits of that CMA. Because that's just an average, like Eric was showing you. Your low, your high, it comes in at 363, 361 or whatever. And then you're doing this extra, like the computer doesn't look at the kitchen. The computer doesn't look at this other stuff. And so if you're presenting it properly and you saw it against the other actives, you're going to get activity on it at the higher price. In fact, I just lost an offer because another agent offered $5,000 non-refundable earnest money, $12,000 over what was already a high list price, and a 15-day close.
Wow.
So
Contingent on appraisal?
he didn't say it wasn't contingent on the appraisal, but it was $5K non-refundable if they
Wow.
for any reason. 12,000 over asking and a 15-day close. So we can't really push the top into that market if it's not something that is going to make the buyer emotionally fall in love with it and want to be aggressive like that. If the seller's not willing to clean the carpets and to stage the home and to declutter and do all that stuff, they're only hurting themselves. Because if they do all those things, you're going to get buyers like this that are going to be competitive and be aggressive and pay more for their house, even if you are pushing the top of the range.
Yep.
No,
Hey, guys,
that's awesome. Thanks, guys.
I want to say hello. It's Lynn. I'm in my car. Just left a final walkthrough, but I want to just add something to what Jeff was just saying about that other offer. That scares me. I just wonder if that agent is doing the very best for their client, having $5,000 non-refundable earnest money. There's so many things that can go wrong. I just hope that's not. I just don't use that as an example of what to do.
No, I'm saying what buyers are willing to do in order to win a home these days because they want to buy a house and they like these interest rates and they're pent up. And so they're willing to do crazy things. And whether that came from the agent or not, that's what you're going to be up against, or hopefully you're going to get for your seller.
Yeah, better to have it on the listing side, right?
Yeah.
What are your
You're right, Lynn. We don't want to encourage our clients. I mean, we got to give them all their options and let them pick what they want to do. But you never want to encourage your client to have $5,000 on the line unless they're flush with cash and they know that's what it's going to take and they want it no matter what. And this particular property was clean. I didn't even foresee any inspection items, so it's probably a fair gamble on that one.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I'm seeing though. Is I look at some of the offers that I'm competing against and the crazy things that the other agents are doing. And I do wonder about the things that can go wrong when they are doing some of those things. And so it's just so nice to have a nice clean win and not, and not have to put your client in a position like that. But it is nice for the sellers. The sellers are totally in charge right now, that's for sure.
No question. Well, Jeff, any thoughts on the value of this home? And then also Tyler, do you have any questions for us? We kind of ripped through that hour quick, huh?
I like the 275 number for a couple of reasons. I mean, it's kind of pushing your CMA to the top part of the value, but it's still enough to where that 400 cutoff mark, but also 375 is kind of another round number, right? You got that guy that's appraised for 350 or maybe can afford more, but they say, oh, let's just bump it up a little bit. And they're going to pick one of those round numbers, 350, 375, 400. So I like that better than like even a 378, right? Just because we're going to get more eyeballs on the property, for instance, and the more eyeballs on the property and the more competition feel that we can create that first weekend of the list, then possibly the more aggressive the buyers are going to be. And we're going to vet out that top price, I feel. I like it.
Love
No,
it.
that's awesome. And I'm actually glad you guys came back at 375 because I've already told them that's what it was at. So I'd really be bummed to have to go back and say it might be less. That was actually exactly what I came up with. So it was just reassuring that you guys said that. So that's awesome.
It sounds more like it was a test, Tyler.
Well, and I kind of told Eric 375, so I don't know if he just threw that out there so I didn't feel bad or not. I don't know.
I don't even remember that.
No, that's good. And Sean Tate
Oh, good.
typically run CMAs on bare land. I don't really do the automated thing. Bare land basically is, location and lot size. And then depending on where it is, if it has water or not, the amenities, if utilities are stubbed, there's a lot of other variables with just the lot that I don't know. I've never actually done a CMA, an automated CMA on the MLS with that, because there's usually very few to pick, and view, neighbors, like I said, water, stubbed utilities, paved road, all those kind of things kind of come into play. And so what would be similar is the competition. What's on the market? What is a buyer going to be able to see when they see it? And you want to make yours stand out somehow. So it might be like getting a subdividing a lot, getting that done with the city first. I mean, I'm not a lot specialist, so it is a little bit different. There's not all these variables that Eric's going over, like square footage and year built and all this, because it's dirt. So it's a little different, a little tougher. I usually would pull in somebody that specializes more in land, probably either refer it to them or do a co-list or something.
Yeah. I always like, too, Jeff, how you say you're selling the house twice. Yeah, I mean, you're selling it to the buyer by your condition and your presentation, and then you're selling it to the appraiser to get that value, because you want to push that value to the buyer, and then you got to really kind of sell it to that appraiser again as well by how well you've presented that product.
And if you do it right, a couple things that actually help with that appraiser's mindset is how quickly you went under contract and how many offers did you get? Did you get multiple offers? If you do, you better be putting it in the remarks for that appraiser to see.
Right there.
Oh gosh, I can't believe this price. I just can't find anything that's already sold to justify this new price. I'm looking back 6 months, right? That's a totally different market. For one, we're just coming out of the winter. Now are we comparing comps during March, April, May, COVID, shut down? How's that going to come into play in the fall when we're going back looking at previous sales? So giving the appraiser as much data as possible and hopefully going under contract quickly. And if you have multiple offers, definitely let them know it, because if it's a higher price than the comp sustain, you're going to get some sort of a subjective opinion of value on market condition. And I want them to be generous on that.
Love it.
Nice
Well,
job, Eric.
Oh, thanks. Back at you. Anybody have any other questions or thoughts? Anyone want to buy this house so Tyler can sell his listing in a day? Have you put it on the market yet? So
Next week.
next week. All right, cool.
Yeah, Tyler, that'd be nice to send them the listing documents and an offer at the same time.
That's how good I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's your listing documents and here's my offer.
Love it. Well, thanks, guys.
No questions?
No
Comments?
questions.
Let me check the chat again. I think we saw everything.
I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I came across this in a Reddit group, and somebody was having an issue with a sticky client that had basically roped the agent into doing a bunch of work, marketing, I believe CMA, I don't recall exactly all the details, and then attempted to disappear and work around the agent without the agent after having already used a good deal of that agent's time and resources. I've heard comments about implementing retainers. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there how you guys would handle that if you've dealt with it before.
Well, he must have done most of that work and not done a listing agreement then, because it doesn't sound like he was in a contract with that agent, right? So, I mean, that's how you solve that. If you're going to give them information, hopefully you're building enough rapport and trust with that person that they're going to stick with you because you're the one that brought all that knowledge to the table, right? But if they're not going to be listing it for a long time, you got to be careful on how much information you give them before they sign that listing agreement, because I literally could coach somebody right into doing it themselves. Now, what they can't do though is once they get those offers, how do they decipher which buyer to go with, which team to go with? You're picking the realtor and the lender as much as you're building the buyer. I always tell them we're picking a package. We got to pick the best package that's going to get to the closing table, because there are buyers out there that will try and be the highest offer just to win the multiple offer situation, but they're not necessarily the best candidate to get to the closing table if you vet them out and you do your homework. So you have to imply your value after listing the property. Sure, you're going to help them stage, you're going to do professional photos, you're going to do your marketing, you're going to put it on the market, but that's not the end of your job, right? Just like with a buyer, showing them houses is just preliminary. Your job starts with the contract with the buyer. So set that up, set expectations when you're talking about the value of their home and getting it to market, that's not your entire value. And you probably won't run into that too much. But then again, once they're ready to go get the paperwork. And another thing I wanted to mention on this, let me ask you, Tyler, when is he planning on going to market on this one?
So we're getting pictures on the 15th, and it's kind of a unique situation because it's going to be another buy sell. So we're trying to figure out the strategy so they don't have to move twice to get that figured out. So I'm hoping to list it on Thursday. But I actually wanted to run it past you guys as well. How would you structure that so they wouldn't have to move? I know I've done a buy sell before, but it was a little different situation. So in this market, if it does go in 2 days, how do you protect them from not having to move twice if the buyer, we can't find a house in time?
I love buy sells. And that's, again, part of the value that you're bringing is giving them comfort that you're going to help them through these uncertainties. It's like, what am I going to do? Well, you can squash that anxiety, because when you get an offer on their house, even if it's full price what they're asking, it's just an offer. So if you haven't put it out there that, hey, you know what, I haven't even found the house I'm going to move to, so I need some time to go shopping for my new house. You know, you're not marketing that kind of stuff, right? So when you get an offer, maybe there's 2 or 3 offers. If the buyer's agent's done their job, like if I'm putting an offer on your listing, I'm going to call you before I write it up, okay? And I'm going to say, hey, I'm just calling. Looks like we're going to write up an offer on your property. I just want to see if I can get a little information about the seller's needs so I can craft the best offer for both parties. And what I mean by that, I'll literally ask them, have they already found the place they're going to move to? Do they need to stay in this house a little while? Do they need a flexible settlement date so that they can have time to go find a new home? Tell me what their needs are. So if you're not getting that call, it's your responsibility to get the best outcome for your client. Okay. So if the buyer's agents aren't asking you that, that's part, say you got 3 offers. Now you're calling them and you're asking them the same thing. Hey, I'm just calling. I've got a few offers here. I just want to find out how flexible your buyer is on possession. Right? Oh, well, they live in their parents' basement. They're willing to do whatever. They love this house. It's their dream home. You're going to hear all kinds of stuff, right? And so you're going to vet out that buyer. Again, you're picking a package. You're going to call the lender. You've got the realtor, and how good has he been with communicating? Did he just email you an offer and not even text you or call you, and it just ended up in your inbox and he never said anything? That, to me, that's a tell. So put your seller at ease saying, hey, we want to go on the market because we want to be ahead of the game. In case that house that you do love pops on the market, we can't say, oh yeah, we're getting ready to list. I would rather have under contract, due diligence done, just waiting on appraisal. The further along you are, the better you are on their offer, okay? But it starts with, if you go to market next week, like you're thinking maybe, it's just an offer. So just, you know, tell them to breathe. When we get the offers, we're going to address this one at a time, and we're going to find that buyer that's going to help accommodate your needs, because it's a win-win, right? Just because the buyer wants to move in 12 days, and that's why he crafted his offer, because they assume that's what you wanted. That's not the best thing for your client, right? So you're going to go back to that agent and have them talk to their client and see if they can wait a little while for you. So we'll work through that once you get on market. But just for now, talk to your seller and let them know that that's part of what you're going to do is you're going to help them negotiate, ideally, a one move scenario. And I love the flexible settlement date addendum because it gives us now a floating range of dates to choose from. Now, of course, it's got to have a hard close, right? You might have a settlement date of, say, August 15th. And that would be on the REPSI. And then the flexible settlement date addendum says anywhere between August 15th and September 15th. So now they've got 30 days to go and find a house. And once you find their house and get under contract, now you get to pick the closing date and you can line up both of them at the same time.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate it. That'll help a ton. Because obviously I've done a buy sell, and the last one was a little different because the house we were buying, they were willing to wait for a month and a half till we went under contract. And so it was a little unique, I guess,
Yeah,
compared to this one.
difficult. I just stacked, last month I stacked 5 closings. Then it went off without a hitch.
Holy cow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, those are great. So we'll help you with that.
And you only represented 3 of those 5, right?
Yeah. I had a sell buy. I was 2 of those. I was a sell and a buy, but we had a buy before us and then 2 more sales.
Wow. Well done.
Awesome. Well, that being said, we'll probably list Thursday then, and then go from there.
Oh, that's the other thing I want to say. So if you're giving them valuations today, always also tell them in this market, I mean, even a couple of weeks time, right? You're doing this, don't pretend like you're not going to readdress this before you go on the market in a couple of weeks, because new properties come on the market every day, right? Well, not as many as we'd like, but you could have whole new competition by the time you go to the market. There could be just a couple of days before you go to market, a couple listings that either help you or hurt you. So just also assure them that either the night before or the day you're going active. So that Wednesday night, Thursday, you're going to readdress the comps and see what one of those under contracts actually sold. So you know what the sold price is, right? Because being under contract, what they do, bid up 20 grand, 30 grand, or did they pay list price? So you're going to relook at that, and you're going to relook at what's active on the market, and you're going to have another conversation. So you might be changing the list price on your paperwork if you've already done the paperwork. But that's going to make them comfortable too. Nobody wants to leave money on the table, but they also don't want you don't want them to think that you've already given them evaluation and you're just checked out on that subject.
That is such a good point. How many times have you had a listing like a week out, and then 2 days before you list it, somebody pops one in that's like 20 grand lower right around the corner? You're like, dang it.
Yeah.
What just happened? Yeah, that's a really good point, Jeff. I like that.
Cool. All right, guys.
I think we're good.
Awesome. Thanks again.
A little bit today.
Good seeing y'all.
Yeah, thanks for everybody for jumping on.
Thank you.
All right, reach out if you have any questions.
All right. See you guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.